focus is consumer education on the impact of credit scores, how to maintain them, how to achieve higher scores. We work with primarily loan officers, real estate fields, as well as HR departments with large companies to educate their employees on the effects of credit. What we find is that 95% of the people we talk to, even though they do have a basic understanding of credit, they don't fully understand the impact and how credit is arrived. So through our education, we talk about credit and the things that make up credit. So first off, let's determine what is a credit score. Now, a credit score is basically derived from the Fair-Isaac model, which most of us have heard that it is the FICO score. Now, the FICO score is with 3 credit bureaus: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Typically, you'll have 3 different scores, and the reason for that is different creditors or public agencies, they report to either 1, 2, or 3 of the bureaus. So in the lending field, the lenders look at what's called a mid-score. Now, a mid-score is basically, it's not an average, but it's taking the high of the 3 scores and the low of the 3 scores, basically throwing those away and looking at the middle, which is now called your mid-score. So that's the start of finding out your credit worthiness. Credit is given to you based on where you are on that score range. Now, we as consumers, as normal people, we've always looked at credit as either good or bad, or basically like when we went to school, it was either an A or an F. It's important to think of how a lender looks at your score. Now, a lender looks at your score as far as a risk factor for them. So if they're going to lend you money, they want to determine what type of risk model you are. So they start off with either a low risk, a medium, or a high risk. And now let's talk about what that looks like. So the high risk, basically that starts at being under 620. Now, 620 is an integral score because naturally people looking for their first time home want to qualify for an FHA loan. Now, an FHA loan has a minimum score criteria of 620. Actually, as of this date here, the criteria is being changed to 640. So we're finding that 640 is basically the least score that you want to have when you're looking for a home purchase. Now, moving up, we want to move up the criteria on the score chart because there's so many other things that are tied into credit scores. After you get that first-time home, you may want to refinance it or get a conventional loan with better rates and terms. So moving up, you want to go into a more favorable risk category, which is basically starting at 680. Moving above 680, we get into close to the 700 range, and that gets us into what banks look at, lenders look at as low risk. How does that affect us? Well, many of us are going to be in the area of looking for a vehicle. You know, we see ads on the media all the time about 0%, 3%, some very attractive financing. You need to understand that in order to qualify for these, you need to be at a 710 minimum FICO score. Now, you can still purchase below 710, but 710 is a criteria to get the most attractive. Actually, striving to be at 720 and higher, 720 to 740 starts getting you in the higher level of the low risk category, which means you're going to get the best interest rates and terms. You're going to have the least problems getting financing. You will be able to purchase a second home or a rental property. And for those of us looking for small business loans, usually 720 to 740 is a criteria that you need to achieve. I'd like to emphasize the importance that credit is very important, but most importantly, you can control your credit. Understanding the principles of how credit is derived by understanding that you don't want to be late, that's the most important thing. You want to work very, very hard at keeping your credit usage below 30%. Limit giving out your Social Security number. You don't want people checking your credit. You remember that inquiries do impact your credit score. So you can, through education, understand how basically you can work the system and you can raise your scores. It's not so much how much money you have, but it's how you use your credit, and you can maximize it to achieve the score that you've always wanted.